Hey, this week's episode of One of a Kind with RVD is presented by FanDuel. U.S. Open's going down. That's golf, everybody. I am not a golf fan. I am not good at golf. I do not watch golf, but golf is popular, especially when you can bet on it. So, you can get Scotty Scheffler right now to win the whole thing, the whole U.S. Open, or the whole Open Championship, that's what it is, at plus 550. So, you can do that right now at FanDuel.
Rob Van Dam! Rob Van Dam! Rob Van Dam! I'm Rob Van Dam. The whole show.
From Battle Creek, Michigan, weighing 230 pounds, RVD.
Heck yeah.
So jumping into that one and didn't have any back support. But
That's it. You did a fine job. Did a fine job.
Yo.
Ooh, hey.
There's a new face in the room. Hey,
It's Frankie Kazarian.
Frankie Kazarian.
What's up, guys?
Yo, TNA heavyweight champion. Are you the heavyweight champion?
I was the heavyweight champion, not currently, but I am in my own mind. So I guess that's what matters.
You'll get back there. It'll be fine.
That's just it. That's it, man.
You guys. I don't think you noticed, you guys, but I texted you both fuck because as soon as you started the music, I got kicked off, and then but I got back on before you noticed. Just a heads up, there's internet problems in my neighborhood, and they just paired it, or they're working on it right now, and just 5 minutes ago, it just came back on after being off for 3 or 4 hours today. So heads up, everyone, if I disappear, don't take it personally.
That's right. Rob's not powdering. He's not ghosting anybody. But we're live. And it's a trash night, but it's no trash night because Frankie Kazarian's here. So.
Steven!
Come on, get the
Trash. Yeah, it's trash night here in Las Vegas. You're right. I'm gonna try to not forget. All right. Cool. Boom. Well, thanks for having us, Frankie. A lot of times I end up getting people's phone, not a lot, not enough, but I get people's phone numbers, and I'm thinking, hey, that'd be cool to have him on the show sometime, him or her. And then I drop the ball because my follow-up game is weak.
Understood, man. Understood. I know we saw each other. I think probably WrestleCon in Vegas was the last time, and we had chatted a little bit.
In the UK for
that was it. That's right. That's right. For
wrestling.
That's right. That's right. We were there for a couple of days. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But didn't I used to see you when I very first went to Rick Bassman's UPW shows?
Yep. Yeah. I was like a staple UPW guy, and yeah. You came in and you were a top WWF star at the time. You wrestled a guy named Suicide Kid Mikey Henderson, and you guys had a really good match. And yeah, I was there from the beginning stages of UPW. Yep. The first time I met you, you won't remember this, of course, but when I was training with Killer Kowalski, he used to go to all the ECW shows that were in like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, all those, and he dragged me to some of those, and I remember meeting you, and you were like, of all the people there that I thought was going to be a dick to me, like it was going to be you because you were like a top guy, and you came out and like said hello to Walter and introduced yourself to me, and you couldn't have been cooler. So that cool. We're talking 28 years ago, so that obviously stuck with me, dude. So and then getting to know you later is like, oh well, he's just a cool dude, so it makes sense, but. Yeah. Then just being like a 20-year-old scared to death wrestling student, you never know.
Yeah, of course. So he started you then, Kowalski?
Yep, I moved out there. I traveled from here in SoCal to Malden, Massachusetts to start training, and started there with Walter in early '98, and got rolling there. Yeah, which was best thing I could have done.
We probably had this conversation before, I don't remember specifically, but did I tell you that when I first had my mind made up that I wanted to be a professional wrestler, I bought my very first plane ticket, took my first trip by myself that I'd ever been on, and I went to that school in Malden, Massachusetts.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yes. So to back up a little bit,
Yeah.
it was a wrestling magazine, and it said, "Do you have what it takes to be a pro wrestler?" And it said, "You send $5 in, they send you a list of all these schools."
Yeah.
So I'm writing to the addresses. I'm calling the ones with phone numbers. And Kowalski was one of the people that, talked to me himself. Couldn't have been cooler. And I'm just 18 years old. And this motherfucker, Kowalski, the legend, picks me up from the airport himself, drives me to the hotel, gets me from the hotel, takes me to the school later. Then back to the hotel, and then ended up taking me to the airport all himself. And I always wondered, like, later on when he would introduce his students like yourself to me, because he did that in WWE a lot too, and he really put me over strong. Like, he'd have a bunch of students, and he'd come by and he'd say, "See this guy? This guy is the best wrestler they got." Yeah. And that really meant a lot. He would say that to me. He might have said it to everybody, but I love.
No.
But
he definitely did it. He definitely did it. He had no reason to blow smoke. So if he said it, he thought it.
I always wondered if he had any idea that I was that same kid, that visited way back in. Let's see, that would have been 88. That would have been 88, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance he did, man, because I know the fact that I drove from SoCal to Malden, that impressed Walter a lot, and he always kind of took care of me. And same thing, my first day there, he picked me up at my little Roach Motel I was staying at, and really just kind of was very gentle and very caring and very cool with me when he didn't have to be. So it makes sense that he would do that,
Uh-oh, Rob's frozen.
I thought he was just deep in thought.
I thought he was too. Well, I'm sure he'll come back. But Frankie, I think it's neat. You are kind of like the last of your kind in a lot of ways. It's like, I think you, Tommaso Ciampa, obviously Rob learned under the Sheik and stuff like that. But to have that kind of legacy, how gratifying is that for you, and to take the trajectory that you have over the course of your career?
Yeah, it means everything. It means everything, man. I without Killer Kowalski, I'm not, I'm probably a pro wrestler, but I'm not probably sitting here talking to you guys, or I certainly don't achieve what I've achieved, because he really installed early on, a work ethic, and there's a focus on the fundamentals that is lacking today, and just gave me such a head start. If I would have started anywhere else, especially anywhere local, certainly at the time. I'm very, very fortunate to have come from that kind of old school mentality. When somebody would ask you who broke you in, and what you said next really determined how they were going to treat you.
Right.
Who broke you in? Kowalski. That holds a lot of weight with a lot of people. So man, it gave me such a head start on everything, and I'm so grateful for it.
What is something that you really carried with you from Kowalski that he kind of instilled in you that just still applies to today's pro wrestling that a lot of people could learn from?
Well, a lot of things. The one thing he always said, which stuck with me to this day, because it's so true, especially in pro wrestling, is believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Mm-hmm. And that's a shoot. And then really just he was so focused on the fundamentals and the small things that are actually the big things in pro wrestling, the focus on the selling, and when you're applying, a reverse chin lock or a hammer lock or a top wrist lock, those aren't rest holds. These are holds that are meant to hurt, sometimes submit somebody. And, there was just always, a lot of focus on that, and, things that, again, I think are just not really, attention is not paid enough to them these days. And that was instilled in me in a pretty strict way early on. And I'm so very thankful that it was.
Absolutely. Robbie always talks about the little details and like the in-between stuff that is so important and everything.
Yeah, everything means something. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny. Like, veterans, I guess we can tell when someone just starts out and they're just circling the ring. You know, if they just circle too many times, it already looks like, look, they don't know what they're doing. Like, they're circling just because they think they're supposed to. Yep. You know, like, and you can tell, like, they have no idea. Like, there's no reason for them to be doing that right now. They think that's part of it. But I also think that we probably had a lot of similar values taught to us because Sheik and Killer Kowalski both got trained by the same guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Burt Ruby back in the day. So I visited Kowalski's school, and I thought I was going to make it happen. I was going to save up money, bagging groceries, somehow live by myself for the first time ever in Boston, and you know, swing paying bills and shit when I was just I think I was still in high school when I made that trip.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, I found out the Sheik was 45 minutes from parents' house, and excuse me. And yeah, but you know, I think that since they both got trained by Burt Ruby, and they're both, you know, from that time period where they were, you know, what was the number one rule that you got trained, Frankie, getting into the business?
I mean, like for like us, I mean, like I said, I started in 98, you obviously before me, but like it was always protect your opponent, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah, she didn't give a fuck about that.
Okay, yeah. In terms of, well, it was like protect the business. Like kayfabe was still huge.
Exactly.
Protect that was business. Okay, if we're talking just the you know, standard across the board was protect that kayfabe at all costs, all times. But like in the context of a match, it was protect your opponent. Yeah.
Used to be the number one rule in the business, and now it doesn't even make the top 10.
No. Now it's the least. I mean, God, we have television shows showing how the donuts are made now, so it's like, you know, that's dead and buried. But you know that, you know, not my favorite aspect of the business, but you know, that's for.
No, I went into this wormhole where like I disliked it so much that I almost started liking it because it was like they're making like a new kayfabe where everyone watching this is going to think that they have it all figured out now, that they know how everything works, and to the normal fan watching, they have no idea what it's like to deal with all these egos, politics, jealousy, people wanting to get themselves ahead, everyone wanting to get themselves ahead, and cutthroat, you know. And so for them, they believe it's just, you know, people showing up at work together, you know, being told what their job is, and then just doing it, and they don't. So I kind of do like how it swerves them in a different direction than they expect.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like more people seem interested in the behind the scenes now, almost more so than what goes on in the ring. You know, they're so like when I was coming up, obviously it was a different time. I could care less. Like I just wanted to watch good wrestling matches and cool, you know, and wanted to watch, you know, my favorites and like Tito Santana and Ricky Steamboat. I just wanted, you know, I could care less, you know. Again, it was a much different time, but it's just so crazy how like it seems like the fans like crave that backstage rumors and what's going on, you know. They're so invested in that stuff.
Oh man, big time too. And it's like, I think looking back at like back in the 90s and even early 2000s and all that stuff, there was still that distance that fans had between the wrestlers and the fans. Like nowadays, everybody's so accessible and it's attainable to like, interact with the wrestler potentially online or something like that. Whereas there's like that air of mystery, that degree of separation. And like, I think that kind of takes away a lot of the kayfabe and the allure of it too. And people are more like, ooh, what's going on behind the scenes, more so than what story are they telling me in the ring or throughout week in and week out of what's going on the television program.
Sure. And a lot of that, you know, that goes across the board, you know, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, the advent of social media. And, you know, I mean, you know, it would have been weird to see, you know, Elvis, for example, like tweeting out what he had for breakfast, like it just, he like those guys seemed like, or Michael Jackson or like any of those, those major stars, like they seemed almost like aliens. They were just not even real human beings, so it's just crazy now that you can, your favorite actor, wrestler, TV star, chef, influencer, whatever it is, what they're doing every hour of every day. So I think it's like, it's really, it's created, society or a system where there's not that big giant superstar like there was, because everybody feels like, they know their favorite, star, no matter what genre it is. It's crazy.
That's a great point too. Yeah. It's across the board with everything. Yeah.
There's an expression I heard a long time ago that I liked that said, accessibility is the measure of fame. And
great.
Yeah, a lot of times, I end up arguing with agents, or whoever, like, hey, even Cameo, like, hey, you can do like phone calls one-on-one with them. I'm like, I don't want to be that accessible. You know what I mean? I can leave the messages. That's cool. I don't want to be, on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. Right. It's just for that reason,
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'm a pretty private guy by nature, and I let the fans in as much as I want to. I'm not gonna, peel back that curtain any more than I already have. It's like, is that just, sometimes I think people are too accessible, and like everything they do is just out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you have a good balance to your social media presence, because like you'll chat out or tweet out to certain people, like wish them well, or if somebody passed away, you'll wish
sure, yeah,
and all that stuff. And I think that's a good balance to kind of what would you recommend to younger talent kind of get into it, and how they should handle their social media?
Oh man, first of all, that shit's out there forever. So, I can't tell you how many times I've rage tweeted and then erased it, because it's like, dude, it's like, for a minute and a half, I'm furious and I'm, ready to just set the world on fire, and then cooler heads prevail. So number one would just be like, be very aware. Do not go on social media when you're inebriated in any way, shape, or form. And if it's, if it's not going to matter in, 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years, don't worry about it. Just, like really just, use it to benefit you, to push your stuff out, to promote your stuff. And don't take it too seriously, dude, because Twitter and Instagram, and it's not even a real place. It's not, it's just, it exists in the ether. It's, at the end of the day, nobody is going to be sitting on their deathbed thinking, oh man, I wish I tweeted more. It's all bullshit, but but it has a lot of benefits.
It does. There's certainly a balance. Like I like it when, certain wrestlers lean into it, like to their persona or who they are, and I think that's great to do too.
Sure.
But there's a lot that goes into it, no doubt. Frankie, I remember you being on Briscoe and Bradshaw, and I think you brought up something where you were in the same room. Killer Kowalski brought you in the room, and there was all these legends with them and stuff. And he brought you in there as a young guy. What can you take back that story? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It was like I was talking to Rob about Walter used to bring us to the shows, and ECW was running in Maine, and he brought me up there, and he always wanted like he would get in the ring with the guys, and he would show them stuff, And so he brought me in the ring, and he's like, and I remember I was in there with Lance Storm and Chris Candido, and he's showing them this weird waist lock reversal, and he wanted me to do it. And I'm like, just a couple months in, and I'm like, dude, I am so out of my element. But anyway, so I'm trying to show him the thing that Kowalski had shown me. And then later that day, they were looking at this local guy named Dave Vicious. He was a local guy from Maine, big jacked up dude with blonde hair. They wanted to see him, just see what he could do. So they put me in a match with him. And literally I'm 19 years old, 20 years old, and I'm in the ring, and around the ring there's Bam Bam Bigelow and Sabu and Rob and Jerry Lynn and the Dudleys, and there's Paul Heyman. It's just like a murderer's row. And I'm literally like trembling, like scared to death. Like I don't belong here. They're not looking at me. They're just looking at this guy. I was just there to take bumps, but like just as terrified as you can be you know, because like, dude, I was like, I wanted to go to ECW. That was like, I knew WWF and WCW, that was the big times and the goal, and eventually, but I'm like, dude, this is what I like. And these were like, you know, my heroes, but I'm also scared to death of every one of them. So it was just certainly unnerving, and just it was like, I got through it, but it was like, wow, that was like the most on the job, terrifying training ever.
I could imagine.
Just, oh man, oh, crazy.
Hey, when I was at that school, you know, with Kowalski and his class and stuff, I was there to watch. You know, like he taught me something that he says. Did he show you a back exercise? He told me every wrestler does this back exercise, and it's
Maybe.
just it's kind of just like putting your elbows on a chair and, like, you know, arching and letting your
Over the
hips
yeah. Okay, yep. I know exactly what
like,
you're talking
every
about.
wrestler does this. He says, a wrestler come up to me and said, my back hurts. I said, are you doing the exercise? He said, no. I said, you asshole.
Yeah,
That was one of his stories. But
man, that all came flashing back, because I remember exactly what you're talking about. And Kowalski claimed that he showed that to Shane Douglas, and it completely cleared up all of his back issues.
Awesome. Yeah. One other thing I remember about that day, I'm watching everybody else, you know, that's working out and stuff, and he kind of embarrassed me in front of everybody, because he came over to me and he just wham, like stomped on my toes, and I no-sold it. I just froze, you know.
Oh,
I was like, didn't know what he was doing, and
yeah.
I can't remember what he said, but something that made me feel stupid.
Oh yeah, he was good at that too. Oh, he was.
You gotta
good
be
at that.
ready. You gotta be ready, or something.
Yeah.
Like, for what, sir?
Oh yeah. As sweet as he was, he could yell and embarrass you and make you feel like shit, as you know, with the best of them.
That's what makes a great coach, though, right? A great trainer is like he's the
100%.
good cop, bad cop, right? Yeah, and it's like
Absolutely, man. Yep.
And one other thing, he was taking me to the airport, and I had this fucking wife beater tank top on, because I needed to show my big 185-pound physique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I needed everyone to understand I was serious. You know.
Sure.
And we're on the way, and he goes, he's driving, and he looks over at me, and he goes, "You got anything else you can wear?" And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I got like the shirt I had yesterday, and he goes, "Well, put that on. Anything's better than that." And what did he say? Now you look like an asshole. What was the line? He had something, but he just said, like, anything is better than that. He said, you look like you're wearing your underwear.
That sounds like him. Yeah. Yeah. Probably just such an old school, like, why are you wearing that in public?
He said dress nice at the airport. Sheik also used to always tell us to represent the business, to always wear nice, wanted us to always wear suits and dress up and shit. And I never, really caught on to that part.
Yeah. No. Yeah. He would always, like, we would go, he would take me and a couple of guys out to eat at, Kowloon's and a couple other Italian spots in Massachusetts. And he would always have like a nice, collared shirt on, and always try to look the part a little bit.
Was the dojo, was it still half a martial arts dojo and half a wrestling school?
Yep. Richard Byrne was the guy that he rented the dojo with. American Tang Soo Do was nice. It, and it was still that. Yep, same dojo. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jeez. Very cool. That was they taught that at Battle Creek Kellogg Community College. That was
okay. Yeah.
We only had 3 places you could go to learn martial arts. It was a really pretty small town, but they did offer Tang Soo Do.
That's it, man. Yeah.
Whoa. Hey, what did Kowalski think of the ECW product? Because that's like definitely a different vibe for him, right?
So when I was there, he was pretty tuned out to what WWF at the time was doing. I think he thought it was silly and just, probably overproduced. And I think he really liked the ECW stuff because it was gritty, and, there were guys that just looked like just tough, rugged guys, like throwback guys, guys. And then there were brawlers, and then there was technicians and a little bit of everything. So I think Walter really, really enjoyed that, and the fact that I think, when he would go there, everyone would treat him really nice and was very respectful to him. And Paul was always nice to him. I think that stood out to Walter a lot.
That's pretty awesome. Heck yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Man. A wrestling historian, he gave us a super chat. Thanks for the Canadian $2. He says, Mr. Van Dam, can you please wrestle Frankie in TNA?
We did wrestle in TNA. In fact, there's a very famous clip. If you just if you put RVD monkey flips, the first one will come out will be a match of a clip of Rob monkey flipping me twice, and they might be the two coolest monkey flips in the history of the business because he kicked me so high and I pushed off so high. We got two really, really good ones. So YouTube that. It's a cool little watch.
Yeah, some people can take monkey flips and others, man, they go over like lead, They fall like right beside me and don't even go up. And it's weird because I swear sometimes I feel like I'm doing the same thing, but guys like Frankie, AJ, Eddie Guerrero, Matt Stryker, they stick out in my mind as being able to just be in sync with me so that when I push, they get all that air off of it. And
there's an art to it. And it's a monkey flip is one of those moves that like you don't see very often, but like when done right, it's still like a back body drop. When done right, it's still super cool, man, and it's still really effective.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a neat aspect of it all for sure.
Yeah. I get cocky, after monkey flipping someone like Frankie and then try and throw it in my next match, with someone like Kevin Thorne or something. And for some reason I go, and I, try and push extra hard and they just go boom.
Yeah.
Like land on me. They go 2 feet up and land on me. Like, how does that happen?
I know exactly that. I was wrestling a guy one time, and I won't mention who, but he was a smaller guy, and I, was going to monkey flip and thinking he's going to get all this height and everything. And when I tell you, it was like I monkey flipped a dish rag. He just barely flopped over, and it was just like, oh, that sucked. Like never again.
Who's somebody? Frankie, who's somebody that you unexpectedly had good chemistry with that you were like, oh, I'm probably not going to have a good match with this guy, but it ended up going pretty well and amazing for you?
Unexpectedly. I think I adapt to a lot of guys' styles pretty easily. So so it would have to be somebody maybe somebody like an Abyss, somebody that's just bigger, but Abyss was also very, very good and moved incredibly smoothly for a guy that size. But having matches with him and the way we clicked and we thought similarly, and so we really gelled together. And he's not a guy that I would think that I could, because I came up being, labeled an X Division guy. So the Amazing Reds and the Jerry Lynn's and Chris Sabins and the Chris Daniels and AJ's, those guys, that's a no brainer. But bigger guys that aren't necessarily that style, but someone like him, and that's a credit to Abyss too, because he was just so good and could really work with anybody and make, and we both had the same kind of mindset. And I think Rob shares this too, is always liking to make your opponent's offense look as vicious as possible. I always really tried to pride myself on taking the highest and the best bumps I could and just making their stuff, just look devastating, because there's a real art to that. And that's what we do. And I think when you got guys that think like that together, that's when you get really good matches.
Yeah, 100%. Man. Yeah, Abyss was so smooth. He was so smooth at what he was doing. So
for a big guy too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Maddie, he's got some super chats in here too, TNA related ones about the past. He says, thoughts on the speech Dixie gave when she took over. What did you think of that, Frankie, when that happened?
I know that's all kind of going out there right now, because we just showed that Dark Side of the Ring, and that one in particular I can remember because I wasn't on camera, because at the time I was portraying the Suicide character in The Mask. So if you would have, when they panned to the agent standing by the ring, if you would have panned a little bit to the right, I was right there, because I couldn't be sick, because I would look like an asshole if I was sitting in the crowd with the Suicide hood on. So they didn't want to do that. So they said, you don't have to be in the meeting. And I was like, thank God, because the speech being what it was, I didn't want to be in that meeting. But It was pretty surreal, man. It was just like, this is weird. Like, why we we'd had a dozen of those meetings before, and I'm like, why are we filming this? Like, what's the payoff? Like, I just real confused. I mean, everyone, if you look at the crowd, if you look at all the boys and the girls, everyone's kind of confused and bewildered. And yeah, I was just like, this is strange. I don't, this one time I'm glad I'm not on camera. It just never understood to this day. Like, I don't really understand that, I just, I don't know. I don't know what they were trying, but I think that was a swing and a miss.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember watching that in time and being really bewildered as a fan. I was like, "Oh, what is the point of all this? It doesn't make sense to kind of even put this on television," kind of deal.
Yeah, and to go back to what we were talking about earlier, like like kayfabe, and it's like, I mean, like, unless you're like a super inside baseball wrestling fan, who wants to watch a talent meeting,
right,
with wrestlers in the office? Like, who cares? Like, I just want to see matches, like that's a 10-minute segment that took away time. Just good. Like, like watching the president of the company talk to the talent. That just, I don't know, man. It was just a disconnect for me.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the dark side of TNA? That's another question Maddie asks too, at the dark side of the ring.
Yeah, I watched it. It's again surreal because I lived it, man. Like, I was there for pretty much every bit of that. And
right.
To see some people talking about everything like they know every detail, that's probably not true. But look, I have a lot of respect for Jeff Jarrett, and he was, he gave me my first start, and I'm very, very happy for how his story has turned out, and how he's doing so well right now. And ultimately, that's all that matters to me, is Jeff's sobriety and the fact that he's doing so good, and the fact that he's, really, fought those demons and come out on the other side of it. That's the important thing to me. And the fact that TNA is still going strong, like, that's, people have been writing that company off for a long time, and we're still doing good on a great network, and right in the mix. So that's still really cool.
Yeah, that's what's great about it too. Yeah, guys keep on going, and it's you're adjusting and adapting, and I think that's a great aspect of TNA.
Yeah, man,
for sure.
And as far as wrestling, Frankie and TNA, I'd love to. I think my in might have just left the office recently in a scandalous exit. So we'll see if it comes around. I'm talking about the dreamer,
Oh yeah. Hey man, that's not your dude. You're always in, man. You're Rob Van Dam, bro. You don't need an in. You just walk in the front door, bro. You don't
walk in, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna give me a blank check to fill out.
Ooh.
I don't know about that. Maybe a blank check, maybe with a don't go over this amount, but who knows? You never know, man.
You really don't. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Maddie also asked this about TNA. What are your thoughts on the 6-sided ring? Did you prefer that, or are you more for the 4-side, or how kind of adapted was that for you there, Frankie?
Again, I'm a traditionalist. I like 4 sides. When they switched to 6 sides, I was like, okay, cool. This is different. This will make us stand out. It was cooler, kind of different angles you could take to get to the top rope. It was stiff. It was really, really a snug ring and a stiffer bump. So I didn't miss that when we switched back. I just got used to it. It was fine. It didn't bother me switching back to 4 sides, but I know a lot of fans were really, really upset about it. And
about switching to 4 sides?
Switching back, yeah. There's a lot of fans that got really upset when we went back to that.
Wow.
Were they the first to have the hectagon?
So I think wasn't one of the companies in Mexico doing it?
I think AAA didn't AAA do
it? AAA was doing it, yeah, because AAA was doing it probably before that, but obviously nobody in the States had seen that like on a mainstream wrestling show. So I think that was Jeff's thoughts. Like, let's, we're going to TV. Let's bring something completely different. And, it worked, it's, did it make a huge difference at the end of the day? I don't think so. Like, the TNA wrestlers were going to bust their ass and put the best product on they could, regardless how many sides the ring had. But wrestling fans really kind of fell in love with it and got, pretty surly when we switched back.
That's kind of surprising.
So for me, I also preferred the 4-sided ring.
Yeah.
But I understood what TNA was trying to do by being different, and I thought the idea was cool, but I thought that when it played out in actuality, I thought that what the difference did was more negative than positive, because it was harder to recognize the product for what as pro wrestling, and that was really where they were trying to compete. When I went there, that was, of course, when they went live up against Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
They switched to the 4-sided ring when I went there, so I never got in the 6-sided ring until Mexico with the Triple H. Yeah, but from being in it, though, I have to say it really wasn't that much different as far as like you go to run the ropes and there's ropes there. You don't have to like work around it or whatever.
Right.
Except maybe climbing the rope in the corner, or doing a split-legged moonsault was a little different. But besides that, I was surprised at the lack of difference.
Yeah, because the angles of the ropes, and instead of like that, it's like that. So for you doing the split leg, you got to make sure your legs hit on a certain angle to get that rotation. Yeah, and you know what? The timing of when they switched it was bad because, Hogan had just come in, and the perception was that he's changing everything, and then they switched the ring. So that was just like, oh, he's taking away everything from us. So like, if they had switched it, 6 months before or 6 months after, maybe there wouldn't be so much, noise, but it was just a timing thing too.
Do you think that was a big misconception at that time? Like that Hogan was wielding too much power around and all that kind of thing at that? And, because there was a balance of like younger talent in the mix with veteran talent at the time.
Yeah. I mean, there's some truth to that, but it's not, there's the narrative that like Hogan and Bischoff came in and just pushed all the young guys to the side, and, we're only going to, that gets a little overblown. Like, look at Eric Bischoff, especially with me, was very, very helpful and treated me and especially Chris Daniels when we were a tag team wonderfully. And there was a lot of collaboration and stuff. And same with Hulk. Hulk was always very good to me and very helpful and, just very kind. Not everyone had that experience though. I can only judge people by how my interactions have been with them, good, bad, or indifferent. So, yes, there was changes afoot when those two came in and things happened that a lot of people didn't like, but I can only speak to how people treat me on a one-on-one basis. And both of those guys were very good to me.
Yeah. No, I just overall, I do hear mostly positive things when it comes to those guys too. But it's just like a lot of misconceptions going down.
It really is.
Matty, he mentions the knockouts too. He said Beautiful People and Kong knockouts were killer. I thought that was you guys really defined women's wrestling, I think, in TNA for a great deal of it.
Yeah, especially at that time. This is the era of the divas and and lingerie pillow fights and stuff.
Right.
And we have a women's division that are actually just there having good matches and presenting a lot of different strong personalities and really, the beginnings was the women's revolution. That started in 2007 in TNA and is still going strong. And yeah, I don't know if TNA gets the credit it deserves for really kind of being at the forefront of, what today. Now you watch any wrestling show and women are featured very strongly. So that, that all goes back to how the knockouts were presented early on.
I remember when the ladies were having their own pay-per-view, and it was something that it sounded like, at the time it sounded groundbreaking. I just remember the whole conversation was like, really, like just them, like no dudes on it wrestling, like they're gonna draw their own fucking audience. Amazing. Yeah. Because 5 years, 10 years previous to that was like not even an option.
You know, like that would have been laughed out. That would have been laughed out of the room. So, you know, here we are, 2026, and you know, we've now had women main event WrestleMania. So it's just, you know, just see how far the business has come and how much more forward the thinking is now. You know,
how do you feel about intergender matches? Do you have any feelings about it, or?
Personally, I don't like them. Me speaking, I don't like doing them.
Yeah.
The occasional mixed tag match, I've done enough of those where there's ways you can make it work and, you know, insert a little bit of ha-ha and some comedy, and there's ways to make them work and there's ways to make them entertaining. I've never done a straight up intergender match, just me against a female, simply because I don't think I'd be good at it. There's no bias. This is not a misogynistic. This has nothing to do. It's just, I would probably suck at, you know, putting one of those together. It is what it is. You know, I'm sure there's some that are very entertaining, but it's just a personal preference. It's not for me. You know, some people love it, you know?
Yeah. I'm with you on that. One thing I would say though is the some of the bumps and or chops or impacts that I've seen some of the girls take in intergender match highlights, even if it's just a little clip on Instagram or whatever. I wouldn't think that girls would be able to take those kinds of bumps and chops and shots and stuff if I didn't actually see it. You know, so those are some tough bitches. So I get why they want to show off and show that they can take it too.
Oh, absolutely. Some of it, like I'll see a clip and I feel dirty for watching it, or like uncomfortable, man. It's just I don't it's there's something unnerving
in there with her, you know.
Yeah. It's just something unnerving to seeing like a large man like just strike a woman. I don't know, man. Just it's wired in my DNA to not like be entertained by stuff.
How can that be okay? You know, how can
right. Exactly.
I had to call an intergender match the one time, and I was a heel on commentated too, and so I'm like, oh well, here it goes. It looks like they're taking a little liberties, and it's just like I felt so weird trying.
Sure. Yeah. And you know what? Everybody compares it to like, you know, they'll like, you look at an Avengers movie and you got Black Widow beating up a bunch of guys, and it's like, how is that different? And it's like, yes, okay, I see your point. And how it's different is that's a production, and there's stunts and there's coordinated strikes and everything. When you're at a live wrestling show, you're seeing a man strike a woman. It's pretty different, you know. Like, yes, we can suspend disbelief a little bit, but like, you know, that's just taken a little too far. And again, simply my opinion, you know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely preferential, but yeah, I feel the same way as well.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
Maddie. Oh, yep. Well, he says spark 'em. About to get higher than a drass pussy. You know it.
Hey, spark them if you got them. I'm enjoying my doobie.
There you go. Frankie Carrizo, he always asks the good questions here. He says, instances of guys having bad ideas for your match. Is there moments where you're just like, somebody pitches something, you're like, no, we're not going to do that, or that's horrible?
Absolutely, dude. For me, it's a lot more like wrestling the newer, younger guys, just because they're not on the same page at all. You know what I mean? And just I'll go with what just popped into my head. And it's brother up in Canada, Mr. Channing, Decker. The first time when I went to wrestle him, he's talking about, you know, we got tables, we got chairs. He said we got doors under the ring if you want to use it. And I'm like, doors? What the fuck? Why are there doors under the ring? You know, just in case you want to use them. Yeah. Why the fuck would I use a door, and why would it be under the ring? Like, I don't get it. Like, how does that make sense? What do you mean? He's like, just, you know, instead of, it's something, you know, if you want to like bump, we could do something with it, bump through it. I'm like, why, bro? But yeah, like all the time I gotta take what he wants to do and go, you know, make it mean more.
Pretty much the exact same answer, man. Like, yeah, like especially now, like it's just the guys wanting to do stuff for the sake of doing stuff. You know, I'll have guys who say, "Oh, yeah, I have for the beginning of the match, I have an idea to do this, and this," and I'm like, okay, we can do that for the beginning, that for the middle, and that for the end. You know, like that was their whole. I could take their whole beginning idea and space it out, and it's like, dude, we can make a whole mat. Like, there's no need to like, so it's like Rob said, it's really like kind of putting the reins on some of these guys and just getting more out of less. You know, you can make so much, mean more. That's the true art of what we do. So like that's, not necessarily bad ideas, almost too many ideas and, not well thought out and just trying to, again, doing things for the sake of doing things. And if you do that too often, it all runs together and the match is going to suffer for it.
And you get desensitized. The viewer gets desensitized about all that too.
100%, man. Yeah.
How did you find the balance when you like obviously being trained by Kowalski and stuff like that, but then getting into that X division kind of style and, the AJ Styles kind of aspect of that? How did you personally kind of find the balance of when to turn it on really quick and then when to like slow it down and make it a little bit more,
learning on the job, man, being in there, with guys like, again, like with wrestling, the moves, the how to do the moves came very natural to me because I was an okay athlete and I was an obsessed wrestling fan. So you could show me something one time and I would learn the how, the why, when, and where to do the moves. That's what took longer. But for me, I was very, coming into TNA and going on, I was in the ring with guys like Rob and guys like Jerry Lynn and guys like AJ and guys like Kurt. And, when you're in there with, and Christian Cage and these type of guys, and when you're in there with guys like that, you really learn how to like a pacing, which is so important to a match. And, the beats and the rhythms and the nuances and the dynamics, a match is like music, if it's a thrash song and it's 5 minutes of screaming guitars quick, that's, that's okay. But if it's like, if it's like the heavy intro, the chorus slows down, then it's just so much better. So for me, learning on the job with all those gentlemen I just mentioned and so many more like that helped me grow by leaps and bounds, man.
Oh man, I could imagine. Yeah. And just having that diverse catalog of all the different people that you work for over the course of time is invaluable for sure.
Yeah, that's just it. Diversity, man. Like, so, I tell a lot of younger students if I do seminars, like, get out of your comfort zone, dude. Like, you can have a great match with your best friend, on the circuit, 5 nights a week. Wrestle the worst guy and have a good match with him. Wrestle the big guy, wrestle the small guy, like wrestle as many different people as you can because you're not going to be wrestling the same guy week in and week out when you get to a bigger promotion,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's cool too. You leaving AEW and going back to TNA and stuff like that. It's kind of, how does it feel kind of being back there? Cause it seems like you kind of have a new, almost quote unquote lease on life when it comes to like how you handle yourself and the kind of personality you give off. It's a different style of Frankie Kazarian. How's that?
Yeah, I'm certainly having fun again. I kind of fell back in love with pro wrestling. And I bet on myself. It was one of those things where, I was, sitting on the bench and I still, should have been in the starting lineup, and if I wasn't going to get that opportunity, cool, that's completely fine, but I'm going to go take that opportunity somewhere else. And I did. And dare I say, it's been the funnest, most rewarding, almost 4 years of my career, being back here and showing that I could be a top guy in a company and, being able to go out there and, cut 10-minute promos and have, great matches with anybody on the roster. It's been super rewarding, man. Yeah.
I can tell too, man. Something I really love that an angle that they seem to be going with AEW was you were going to be like the elite hunter. And it was almost like you were like the Punisher in a way, like gonna go out. Yeah. What were your expectations going into that? Was there bigger plans? And I'm sure you had something formulated in your head, but
I mean, the plan, CD and I had just done a stipulation where we lost to the Young Bucks, and we had a stipulation where the next time we lost as a tag team, we had to split.
Right.
And that was basically the end. And it was all because of the elite. So I was going to pick off each member of the elite one by one. I had a lot of ideas that, really cool things we could have done, but zero follow-up booking, and, that's take with that what you will. Zero follow-up booking. Could it have been cool? Yes, it could have. Was it? Absolutely not, because nothing was done with it. And that's out of my hands and above my pay grade, and just kind of led to a lot of the frustration that was already there.
Yeah, I was so excited for that. I was like, oh man, this is going to be like a Punisher angle. I was like pumped for it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
that was exactly the mindset, was that, that Frank Castle, just dispose of your enemies one by one in different creative ways. And it could have been really cool, man. But again, you're in any wrestling company, you're playing to an audience of one. And if that one guy doesn't, vibe with what your thoughts are, it's not going to happen. So
yeah, right.
It's what it is what it is.
Did you grow up on Marvel comics, Frankie?
Yeah. I grew up collecting. I was always a big Hulk guy, but as I got older, I got into like Punisher, Spider-Man, Wolverine, obviously, and Chris Daniels, who's my partner, is a giant, massive Marvel guy, much more knowledgeable than I am. But yeah, I mean, I was I'm a kid of the '80s, so like comic books and things like that were a huge inspiration for me.
Yeah. Who are some of your Spider-Man villains? Rob and I were talking about that the other week. Your top Spider-Man villains.
Yeah. Early on, Dr. Ock was the. I remember always hating his haircut in the books. like you guys remember what I'm talking about? Like he always has the bowl cut, and I was always like, this dude, but he's a scientist and he's like a nerdy guy, so it was like. But I was just like, God, why is this haircut so stupid? Of that, the big ones for me, like Green Goblin and Dr. Ock. Those are the guys. Those are just the ones I remember reading about the most and watching in the cartoons and stuff. Like those were, the guys that were like the formidable ones were always there.
Remember the Vulture? Dude's like
Vulture,
this old ass man, but he's got like wings like Daedalus escaping from Island of Crete, and so he's a supervillain. Yeah, Spider-Man didn't care how old he was; he'd be like, "Crack." Fucking.
That was Michael Keaton in the movies, right? He played Vulture. That's right. Yeah.
Right,
yeah. Heck yeah. No, the Vulture. I remember fighting him on the video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Spider-Man games.
Oh man, they had it was the Sega Genesis. There was a really cool Spider-Man. Was that the one?
That was the one.
And the crocodile, or that whatever the is it Killer Croc or the alligator guy with the
lizard,
man. That's it. Yeah. That game was cool, man.
That game was sweet.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, those were on my weekly pull list. Also, besides like 5 Spider-Man titles, I also collected Hulk and Punisher. When he had it, and not as much Wolverine, just because everybody else loved him. So
sure,
that made me put more of my energy into Ghost Rider. And
sure, oh yeah, sure.
But yeah, I always liked Hulk, and I quit for a while, and then I remember seeing an action figure after I hadn't I'd been out of for a long time. This is still when I was with the Evil X. It just been a long time since I'd been into comics, and I saw an action figure, and it was Maestro Hulk. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Maestro, yeah. It was an action figure, and it was Incredible Hulk, and he had like a belt, and he had like the other superheroes crushed pieces of their outfits. He had Captain America's shield, Iron Man's helmet, and all this shit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, like I didn't know the storyline or anything.
Yeah.
But just that figure alone, I bought it, and it got me like back into comics.
Right back into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, I always liked Hulk because, like, as a kid, who can't relate to like a guy that just has this temper and loses his shit and turns into this giant monster and just kills everything. And I like that he was like, I like that he was a baby face, but like, then the next comic would come out and it's like, Hulk's taking on the Avengers and then he's beating the shit out of Captain America. I love that he was so unhinged. Like, he could just 1 week, he could just completely lose his shit and be a bad guy. I thought that was so cool. Because, you didn't see that a lot back in the day. It was always good guy versus bad guy. So it was cool that Hulk was, that shade of gray, pun intended, to kind of like be the tweener,
Hulk autistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what makes it great in pro wrestling too. Is there's so much of that crossover too, where you have these, sometimes strange bedfellows teaming up with one another, and then it's like you get all these alliances. It's I think that's what makes it so great with pro wrestling.
That's why most people that grew up watching, especially from my era, you were into like comic books and wrestling because they kind of went hand in hand. Like it just played out the same way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wrestling historian, he asked you a question, Kazarian. Mr. Kazarian, when you originally portrayed Suicide, how would you have liked that storyline to have played out? I thought the character was awesome. So how would you have liked it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. I had a different vision for first of all, I fought being that character for various reasons, but when I was going to do it, I was like, I'm going to make this the best I can. I thought, first of all, I didn't want the character to speak ever. Mm-hmm. I just thought it would be cool if there was some mystique to him. And like, eventually they made it have to cut promos, and it was just like, ugh. And it just watered the character down. But like, so there was a movie out called The Prestige with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. And they both play magicians, and they do one of their big tricks is they have a double, and like they appear in two places at once. So I had some ideas that I pitched about having Suicide in the ring, then the lights go out, and then there's a spotlight up in the balcony and Suicide's there. And it's like, what the, I just thought that we could do some cool stuff like that. And I also thought that like when my time was done being Suicide, somebody could take over, and it could be like our version of Tiger Mask. Mm-hmm. That like there could always be a Suicide, but it's portrayed by a different guy. And it'd be a good way to get a guy a job, and a good way to get a guy, over and into the mix. And I just thought that, we could do some different kind of supernatural, cool elements of the character. But ultimately, he just started talking and became kind of like a regular X Division guy. And I was like, that's weak. It's just a wasted opportunity, man. It's like, this character came from a video game, and we just turned him into another dude on the roster. And it was, again, another swing and miss.
Right. Yeah. Ooh. Happens a lot in wrestling sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and this particular, I usually, especially when I was younger, I wasn't very vocal with ideas, but with this, I was. And I remember pitching these ideas to Dutch Mantell at the time, and he really liked most of the stuff I was talking about. But again, he's only one guy, so like it probably never got further. If it did, it just got shot down.
Yeah. Well, Matty does ask, what did you think about Dutch and Cornette booking?
Again, two pretty polarizing guys. Nothing but good things to say about both those gentlemen. Funny story, since you just mentioned those two, but both of those guys helped me a lot. Always went out of their way to give me advice, critique what I was doing, good, bad, or indifferent. But funny, this is out, and Rob, you'll pop for this because in wrestling you can get completely conflicting advice from two guys you respect a lot. And that happened with Dutch and Cornette. I remember this was like 2007, and I'm a babyface, and I'm having matches with Kurt Angle and Christian, and I'm doing pretty good. And I remember early in the day, Dutch Mantell sees me, and and he pulls me over. He goes, what I really like about you is, you wear bright colors, because at the time I was wearing bright yellow and turquoise, and he's like, more baby faces need to do that. You wear bright colors and you stand out. You look good. I said, thank you, sir. Thank you. That same day, Jim Cornette pulls me aside, and he's like, I get it, you're a baby face and all that, but do you have to wear such bright shit? Like, you could show some edge, maybe wear some dark stuff, like but he was saying it, as a critique, as a, it wasn't like, exactly. But it was just funny how in the same day, those two guys who were both like brilliant wrestling minds, and both guys I respect a lot, giving me completely different advice. It was just really fun. And so it's funny that you mentioned those two. But yeah, no, I always got along with both with great guys. Both were very good to me, very helpful to me. And I really, really respected both those guys. And, I'm thankful they were there, especially in my, formative years, still really learning how to be a television wrestler and how to get over. Both those guys helped me a lot.
Oh man, yeah, what great minds for the business in general too. Yeah. Both of them. Yeah. Rob, did you interact with Dutch at all?
No, not really. I mean, I worked with him a little bit, just like, especially like when he managed Swagger and Cesaro. But no, I don't. He was never like my agent or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That I knew about, not that I
Yeah.
interacted with anyway.
Yeah, he was probably, by the time you were there, really, he was probably done agenting, I think, by the time you got there and were. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was curious if you ever crossed paths, especially in TNA. I kind of forgot. Maddie has a joke. What do you call a hippie's wife? Mrs. Hippie? Mississippi.
Nice.
I'll allow it. That's good. I'll allow it.
Let it go, Maddie. He says, how cool is 2026 with so many places to work for versus 2000? Yeah, I bet that's got to be refreshing too, Frankie.
I mean, I tell young wrestlers all the time, don't take that for granted, dude, because the options out there are so plentiful, and that wasn't always the case. Rob can probably speak to this better than I can because he's, kind of the generation right before me, and there's fewer opportunities for him, and I was always, I was still considered an undersized guy, and it was still the land of giants. So it was like, you needed to look a certain way to even get looked at. Nowadays, there's a lot of wrestling out there. So I tell people to take advantage of that and, don't take that for granted at all.
Yeah. Oh man. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I went to WWE in 2001, it was the only option if I wanted to continue being a TV wrestler in the United States. Yeah.
Sure. Yep. That was it, man. Yep. Yeah. Now there's a lot more, there's not just one, there's a lot more. So
Frankie, forgive me. Were you at the very inception of TNA or did you come a little bit later on?
So my very first show, I started a week before the 1-year anniversary of TNA. So I started in June of 2003.
Okay.
So I started in year one and was like a regular since then. So yes.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
You're an original, I would say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's right. That's an original. I started in year one, technically.
Yeah,
so
I think you're good. I think you're good in that.
TNA OG. Yep.
Yep.
Hey,
Maddie. Yep.
I see that you missed a question up there. I was looking at the chat room and somebody, who the fuck was it? I should have.
I see it. Jeff Meacham.
Oh, there he is.
Well, there's that, but even
That one.
someone wanted to ask about Dixie Carter's speech when she took over.
Oh, we took it. You
checked out for a second. Yeah.
Yeah. That was an internet thing. Okay, well, that's cool. I really don't remember that much about it. I didn't have anything to add to it. I was just looking at the chat room, and there's a question also. Is it true that me and Bill Watts didn't get along? And no, not really. I just, when I met him, I mean, I'm like a fucking 8-year-old. I mean, I was really young, and Ron Slinker was there. He was Bill Watts' friend, and he's the one that got me the job and the one that named me Rob Van Dam. And anyway, he just didn't want to use the name Rob Van Dam. That doesn't mean we didn't get along. And so I became Robbie V. And yes, I got along with his son, Eric, very well.
Didn't you? He also was kind of a supporter of you too, Bill Watts, wasn't he? Even though, for the most part, I thought.
I'm not sure about that. When I was there, he banned the top rope, but still let me do the split-legged moonsault. He said I was just bouncing off it, and that was okay. He just didn't want the guys climbing up and jumping off of it, So I had a little bit of a exception, no heat already at 22 years old for my future career. But I could say this: I was winning matches. And then he got replaced with Bill Ole Anderson. I went to Japan, came back. Ole Anderson is sitting in Bill Watts' seat, and then I'm not winning matches anymore. So if you look at it that way, then I guess he must have thought highly of me.
Yes. Frankie, didn't you? I think I remember hearing a story too. Didn't you cross paths with Luthez when you were with Kowalski?
Yeah. Well, Kowalski came out to Vegas to do a card show, and I drove out and met up with him, and I got to go out and have lunch and hang and talk with Kowalski, Mr. Thez, and Bob Orton Sr., Bob Orton's dad, Randy's grandfather, and got to sit and just listen to those guys. Just like again, talk about on the job training. Just you're talking about like Lou Thez, and that's one of the like founding fathers of what we do. So really, really cool, man. Very cool.
Oh man, yeah, that had to be surreal.
Yeah.
Super surreal.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm a student of the business, and I really respect the history of it. And I think the further we get, away from it, people start forgetting guys like, that really, really paved the way. And so it was really cool to be able to sit there and break bread with this legend. It was wasn't lost on me.
Oh, I imagine not, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Meachin chimes in for $5. He said, just popped in after seeing The Odyssey with my son. Good on Dom, chatting with two of our family's favorite people. Hope all are well. Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff Meacham, shout out. Jeff's a bud. He's a good dude, man.
He is a good dude.
What up, Jeff? I hope you mean The Odyssey, the third book of the Homer's trilogy that portrayed the trip home of Odysseus or Ulysses. Same guy.
Mm-hmm.
10 years to get home from the Trojan War. Great story.
Yep.
I didn't know if there was a new movie of it or whatever, but
yeah, it's supposed to be just a giant blockbuster. Obviously, just came out.
Came out today. Yeah, today, and then it's it's getting reviews. I'm actually seeing it on Saturday. So
it's supposed to be massive. It's probably, I'm guessing that's like a 3-hour plus one, right? That's got to be.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours. It's like 3 hours. Christopher Nolan directs it and stuff. So
yeah. That's definitely worth checking out. I'm definitely gonna look into that.
Rob, I was actually gonna ask you about it since you're such a Greek mythology fan and stuff.
Yep, I'm a Greek geek.
Greek geek.
The Iliad, which is the book on the Trojan War, is supposedly book number 1, with the Odyssey being book 3 and a missing book in between. So from the same author, his name was Homer Simpson.
Yep.
And the first book is the beginning of the war. Everybody making their way to the beaches and setting up, and then there's a big missing piece where we know from a lot of other peripheral books and stories and even songs back then, what we accept as the story in between. And that's where you get the Trojan horse and the fall of Greece. And Aeneas has a book called the Aeneid, and he supposedly ran out of there with his father on his back and went and founded Rome. And Roman mythology is, by the way, the same as Greek mythology, except the names are just different. So Zeus is Jupiter, and like that. Aphrodite is Venus. In case you didn't know. But so yeah, that would be to someone that's fascinated with Greek mythology. That missing book in the middle would be like the ultimate treasure to find.
Man,
that's super cool.
Let's get the search on. We'll search for it.
And by the way, the Odyssey is the 10-year adventure after the war of Odysseus, who'd come to help the Greeks fight and made it all the way to the end. Now he's going home, and it takes him 10 fucking years to get time.
Long ass time. I'm excited to see the movie for sure.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yep. Speaking of movies, Maddie does say this. In my opinion, the Marvel movies never lived up to the comic books or the cartoons.
Oh, I can't really say I can back that up. I've been blown away by like the Avengers movies I've seen. I'm like, I can't believe they brought a comic book to life like this, and I'm actually seeing this fucking go down. Like, what do you think, Frankie?
Yeah, I oftentimes, that the book is better is always like, okay, well, the book is going to be interpreted in your mind a certain way, so what they put on film will never live up to that. But like for the Marvel movies, specifically the Avenger movies, like if that's not a cartoon coming to life in the coolest way possible, I don't know how those could have been done, especially Infinity War and Endgame. Those are two of not just comic book movies, two of the best movies I've ever seen. And just again, and it's not because of the special effects or anything, it's because the story is so good. But yeah, those movies were incredible, man. Not all Marvel movies have been the best, but like I think their batting average is pretty damn good.
Right. Could you imagine as a kid, like I always like couldn't even fathom like, oh man, could you see like the, Spider-Man or the X-Men or anything like that? And then when they finally happened, it was so awesome. And then like, I think the payoff was overall pretty good.
I thought that first phase of Marvel movies are, that's amongst some of the best stuff ever, dude.
Absolutely, man. Huge mark out for that stuff.
Yep.
Maddie asked this question too, which I think is interesting. Thoughts on Conor McGregor, aka Conor McGregor, and his weak leg, talking shit about wrestling when he looks like a wet paper bag. MMA fighters couldn't keep up with wrestlers. What do you think about the Conor McGregor stuff, Frankie and Rob?
I think the guy's already proven himself. He's cocky as shit, makes him a good heel, but a heel that can back his shit up. And he's made so much money when he fought, was it Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
They made so much money, and he's such a fucking draw every time he steps in. So I think, what happened, I saw him practicing that kick before. Did you see that? Like there was footage of him practicing that same kick right before the fight, and then he went and tried to do it off the bat and fucked up. Maybe that's why he was practicing it. Maybe his knee was feeling weak. But either way, like when something like that happens, I can never jump on the bandwagon and say, man, he's a pussy, he's fragile, because really it's amazing that we all don't get hurt a lot more. It's very physical and could happen anytime. Like when I thought I was indestructible until I cracked my ankle, or I can't remember if it was my foot or ankle, but that match with Rhino when I had to give up the TV belt, and it was just doing a baseball slide. But my ankle rolled underneath me. That's all it took. So, couldn't be indestructible anymore.
Yeah. Look, I like Conor McGregor's in the business of Conor McGregor, man, and he's going to promote himself and say the most outlandish thing because that's him. So like, I take anything he says with a grain of salt. He's a character, he's Conor McGregor, the man, but he's also a personality, and he's got such a big personality. Like none of that stuff ever bothers me. I don't, and again, I'm sure he probably is devastated. A lot of people thought he was hurt before the match. I don't know, but like, anyone that's a competitor, if you get hurt that early on, it's going to crush you. So yeah, I have no ill will, and I don't care enough that, to defend an entire industry because of what one man says. Right. I know how difficult pro wrestling is, and I certainly have a respect for every guy that steps into the octagon too. So like, I would personally never speak like that, but I'm not Conor McGregor, man.
Right? Yeah, it's different entities too. It's just like a whole different kind of realm to be in. Yeah, for sure. Frankie, $5. Thank you. He says, who are some guys who could safely do the riskiest moves? And then he says, any stories of wrestling against guys who were stars in the 80s? Okay, so that's interesting ones. Who could safely do riskiest moves?
For me, my default is AJ Styles, because the guy was just such a freak athlete and so good at, just making everything look so effortless. Like some of the stuff he does was just dangerous, but he just pulled it off just with such poise and grace, shit, Rob, I'll put you in that same category, dude. Not just because you're here, but for everyone, like Rob's a pretty big dude, and he does some incredibly athletic stuff, and it's not easy, but he makes it look easy. So guys like that, guys like, smaller guys like Amazing Red, they, and Low Key and those guys, they did some incredible stuff too. So yeah. And as far as wrestling guys from the 80s, I mean, dude, I was fortunate enough that I got to wrestle the Bushwhackers, and they were screaming at me the entire match, calling spots, yelling at me, just everything's on the fly, just yeah. And I got to wrestle Honky Tonk Man early on. And look, dude, for me it was a thrill. I was a kid that grew up in the 80s, and I'm, seemingly watching these guys 1 minute and the next minute I'm wrestling them. So anytime I got the opportunity to, wrestle one of those gentlemen, I always really enjoyed it.
I could imagine, right? Man,
yeah,
hitting those guys in the 80s. Rob, how about you? What's what wrestlers could do the safest moves, riskiest moves, the safest?
So yeah, the two guys that make the top of my short, quick answer list is Rey Mysterio, and also Sabu. Yeah, I don't really have to elaborate, but as far as wrestlers who were stars in the 80s, I mean, I think I probably wrestled pretty much all of them, or most of them. I didn't wrestle well, let's go with who I did instead of who I didn't. I'll just Greg the Hammer Valentine. I wrestled him a lot when I was just like 2-3 years in the business, learning a lot from him, wrestling him a lot of times, and listening to him. Manny Fernandez, Pistol Pez Watley, if you guys know who that is.
Watley, yes.
Marty Jannetty, even though he doesn't remember the match in Aruba. No, I think we were tag partners though. So that I don't think that counts. Let's see. One Man Gang.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and end my list there, but a lot though.
Yeah,
I believe it. Hey, Frankie, are you good for one more question or anything? Do you got?
Sure. We do one more. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Let's do this one here. ASOS, thank you for the $5. He says, Frankie, any good memories or stories with Booker T? What did you think of his TNA run?
Booker was I was in Booker's first match in TNA. It was, he first came in, and it was him and myself tagging against Bobby Roode and Christian. So I was there at the very beginning, kind of just thrown into the mix. Book was always good to me, man. Again, a guy that, for me at the time, just being in the ring with him raised my stock, showing that I could be on that same playing field and hang with a guy like Booker. And I always I thought he was hilarious backstage. And I thought he was, super talented and just really another guy that did stuff. Book's a big dude, like big muscular guy. And he's super athletic, like doing stuff that like a cruiser, like working almost like a cruiserweight, but like being 6'4", 250 or whatever Book was. And yeah, he just, again, always, there to like give you a bit of advice or, constructive criticism. And Book's always cool, man. He's always a dude to this day. If I see him, I really, enjoy catching up with him and talking and reminiscing.
Heck yeah. He's a down-to-earth dude. Definitely for that. No doubt. Rob's got some great stories too, I know.
Oh yeah.
Well, cool, Frankie. Is there anything you want to plug? I know TNA's coming up. I know you guys got a show coming up in Philly that weekend of July 30th and 31st and all that stuff.
Yep. We're going to be back in Philly. Going to be back live, which is cool. We haven't been live in a few weeks, so we're going to be live in Philly on the 30th.
Really, huh?
Yep, that's it, man. That's it. I know.
Really?
That's it. Almost writes itself, man. Yeah. So we're doing that. We got Lockdown coming back in Chicago, and Impact on every Thursday night. and we're really, really hitting our stride and putting on some great shows. So be sure to check us out.
100%, 100%. Well, thanks, Frankie, for doing that. Yeah, this was great.
Appreciate you, Frankie.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
I just said appreciate you, Frankie.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, dude. Good to catch up with you, and great to chat with you guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Great to chat with you.
Are you going to be at WrestleCon in Minneapolis?
Not in Minneapolis. I will not be at that one, no. But
okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure I'll pass across hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, dude.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
See you, dude. Have a good one, man.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. All right, Rob, that was awesome. Hell yeah. We got a couple more super chats.
Did he say he had to go, or you just pushed him out the door?
No, I saw him look off screen for a second, so I was like, oh, maybe he's got to go or something. So, so.
All right. Second bet, you can take a little bit of a flyer on Tom Fleetwood Mac. You can get him at plus 1,800 right now on FanDuel.
I don't think we've ever had it.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Rob. Oh, no. Rob, he'll be back. He's frozen. He has froze. Let's see. Seeing what I can read for the super chats here in the... Oh, man. I don't remember this one. Maddie says, thoughts on the famous New Jack bombs away throw. I don't know that one, Maddie. I don't know that one. World Superior for thou. Do you mean Benoit? Here, the Rabid Wolverine? Here, Rob will probably be back in a second. Those dang internet issues. He's got that weird internet happening. Oh, shit. I meant to ask that one, too. Sorry, Maddie. I missed that one. Thoughts when TNA and NXT getting across paths. I thought that was a cool merge, though, for a little bit, when that all happened. I liked it a lot. I wish they would do more with one another here, too, because I think that was a cool opportunity for TNA. Neat little crossover. They're doing that Worlds Collide thing coming up, but that's more so AAA and everything, I think, going on. So, yeah, who knows? But, man, I like Frankie a lot. That was a great conversation. Oh, we'll have to get Rob when he gets back here. There he is. He's back. Boom, we lost you.
Yeah, that's it. Each time it kicks me off, it's only for maybe a minute, and it lets me back. So, yeah. Fucking, they're working on my internet in the neighborhood, so it's been like this all day, and we're realizing how much we really use the internet, especially with Alexa. The whole time when I get kicked off here, I just see black, and then I just every 15 seconds or so, I'm like, Alexa, are you connected to the internet? Sorry, there's a problem.
Right,
Alexa, are you connected to the internet? And then, when she says, yes, I am, then get right back on.
So you use Alexa quite a bit then?
Yes, I do. And we have her in every room now. And it's and on the phone too. And it's more and more, actually, I'll even be watching a video and then I'll just pause, and be like, Alexa, what is the definition of disorderly conduct? And I ask her some questions.
Disorderly conduct is generally defined as any of various petty misdemeanors, including nuisances, breaches of the peace, or offensive conduct in public. It typically involves behavior that disturbs public order or morality.
That reminds me we were fighting earlier. I shouldn't have.
Me and Alexa had a little tension.
Yeah, I don't believe her.
Oh, yeah? Uh-oh. Rob froze up again. that shoddy internet he's got. I have to make sure. Let me screenshot all these super chats so I make sure to enter you guys all in the raffle for next week. Wrestling Old Head. So hold on a second. Not Wrestling Old Head, Wrestling Historian. I'm going to screenshot little by little here while Rob is here. While Rob is frozen, I mean. So Maddie, you're in a couple, I know. Maddie, you probably have like 3 or 4 entries, I think. If I'm being honest, since you added so many super chats. Boom, boom. Dark side. Okay. 3. Making sure. Okay. Rob should be back. Jeff Meacham is in the mix. Maddie, yeah, you cooked up some super chats here for sure, brother. Okay. Maddie, man, you are Frankie and you and Frankie. You guys are gonna have a lot of entries coming up here. Jeez, oh man. And you see O's in one. Holy smokies. Getting this all. All right, Wrestling Historian, I think you're entered in for one too. I have to count all these up. All right, I got all the screenshots going, so good. Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to remember to ask Rob that when he gets back about the European Championship. Oh, Vic Grimes bombs away. I don't know. I don't remember that. I showed up late to ECW, like 1999, 2000, I think it was, when it was on TNN. That's when I started watching ECW. So everything else before that, all new to me in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, obviously double backing and seeing some of the classic stuff, you know, some big storylines and stuff I got familiar with a little bit more, but not too familiar. Like, I didn't watch it in time. I was 12, 11 when ECW was like starting to pick up. And so I was watching WWF, Razor Ramon, and then jumping over to WCW with the NWO. And so that was my wheelhouse. And then finally ECW was catching my radar. So I was a little late to all that stuff. But it's fascinating to hear about how passionate, and I understand why everybody's so passionate about it, because ECW arguably sounds like the best product that there was. If I go back and watch those clips too, when Rob's cutting promos or there's like the cut scenes, and then you see what happens and how wild that crowd is. I mean, how could that not be one of the best products going? Because it was so underground and fun and like just a passionate fan base and it was different than what we were seeing. And like you can make a huge argument that was the reason for all the Attitude Era stuff. I was just putting over ECW, Rob.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got too cocky with my internet, and it's just, oh yeah, you just get right back on, huh?
You know what? You think you're just swinging your radar around here, Rob, and then you talk shit to Alexa. Probably didn't help matters either.
It's a pain in the ass, dude. You want to keep going with me in and out and subjecting the people to having to deal with you by yourself?
I know, right? I'm like, nobody's tuning in to see me. I'm like just chatting about like, oh yeah, I tuned in to ECW later on. Nobody gives a shit, Dom. But Maddie asked you this, Rob. I don't know if you know what were your thoughts on the famous New Jack bombs away throw? I guess when he did this to Vic Grimes. Do you know what he's talking about there?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
My thoughts on it were I thought that it was careless, dangerous, possibly intentionally harmful, and I had the perspective of being a competitor there, you know, so when it happened, you know, I was very much, you know, like hey, fuck everyone else and their style, you know what I mean? Like I'm this is the right way to do it, the way I do it, just like a lot of people are, except really magnified because I was a pro wrestler. And but I had that perspective, so I already didn't like those kind of matches that I wouldn't do. I just didn't like them because I wasn't a mark, and I wasn't going to do those matches. So I was just, not about that. You know what I mean? But it was a receipt, I guess, from what I understand, that Vic did something to him. I've seen it on video enough to feel like there is a good chance that it was intentional. Someone could have got really hurt bad on that one. So I wasn't a big fan of it. Yeah, nowadays I would probably feel the same, except for I'd feel a little bit more like it really wasn't any of my business, which is probably how I felt back then too. I mean, I don't remember ever talking about it. I definitely didn't try to change anything. I just probably rolled my eyes and let my ego shield me from even looking at it and wondering what they were trying to do. You know what I mean? And saying what could have gone wrong, or maybe, or was that how it was supposed to fucking go? But pretty dangerous, pretty crazy. Not my cup of tea. As were a lot of New Jack's matches back then.
Yeah. But definitely one of the most polarizing people in ECW for sure.
Yeah.
He
was.
Worker World Superior Thou for WOW2. Thanks for $2. He says, reaction to what happened to Rapid Wolverine. Is he referring to Benoit, I'm guessing? Because that was his nickname, but
okay, I didn't have a guess. I was like, the comic book, or were we talking about?
I thought he went Wolverine from the comics, but then Rabid Wolverine is what they referred to Chris Benoit. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, I don't support killing your family or yourself. Can't really get behind that move. And especially my kid. What can you say? He was.
Oh man, we lost Rob again. I might shoot him a text. Wait. Wrap it up here because you froze again. Dang internet. Poor Rob. Dang.
Oh, there you are. What happened to him? Whoa! All right, that wasn't too bad.
You were frozen.
Okay, yeah, Chris Benoit. If that's who they're at. Hey,
your Orbi system is up and running.
Okay, cool. Quit kicking me off. Yeah, we got in a fight. We got in a fight earlier. I don't know if I might get kicked out here, so I better not get distracted and stick to one story here. But great wrestler, intense dude. I respected him and admired him, and I'm gonna give the CTE a lot more credit than a lot of people will. I hear a lot of people when they're interviewed say, well, other people had CTE and they didn't kill their family. That really doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like that's like, well, a lot of people got drunk and drove home and made it home. How come, then why are you mad at this guy for trying it, and you get the point. I don't know. I think you do. Anyway, everybody reacts different to everything. That's like saying, that like, well, my grandma had Alzheimer's, but she never fucking got lost in her own house. How come your grandma did? Like, that doesn't make sense. They both just had Alzheimer's, right? Wouldn't they be the exact fucking same? No. When someone does have Alzheimer's, which is very similar to CTE, the victim of it, person experiencing it, becomes very unlike their normal self, and it's really, from what I understand, it's a really painful thing to go through. And I did have, I wasn't around it a lot, but I do remember my mom's mom on that side. The last time I saw her, she didn't know who I was. Same thing with my dad's mom, as a matter of fact. When they were a certain age, last time I saw them, in the old folks' home, whatever it was, both of them, I remember that they didn't know who I was. And that kind of hurt because you have a relationship with them. So if it's somebody that's real close to you, that you have a great relationship with, then you just got to watch that rot away and deteriorate and watch them be hateful to you and mean, and you don't want to remember them being an asshole. You want to remember them being the way that you loved and stuff. And that's how a lot of them, not all of them, go down. But when you have CTE, it's a wasting away, degenerating disease of the brain, very much like Alzheimer's. You can have concussion symptoms and you can have a bad memory, and it doesn't mean you have CTE or that you have Alzheimer's. It's a very comparable adjective, quality to label somebody with. You don't get diagnosed with CTE until you're dead, and because you got to look inside your brain so far that machines can't do at this day and age. I'm sure, hopefully, that will change. But do I think it's possible that somebody with very severe CTE could do what he did? Yeah, I do. If I think that it's very possible. I'm sure there's other variables involved. I remember seeing I remember seeing Slinker one time when it was just he and I in his condo, and I was 20, not even 21 yet. And this big motherfucker comes running down the hallway. It's just me and him there. And he died. Oh,
no, we're going to catch the story. Alexa's getting back at Rob. He dived. Then what next? What next? Gosh darn. Cox Internet. He's got. I was waiting. Matcha64. He asked Rob, "What music were you listening to in ECW?" Rob isn't a music fan, so he probably wasn't listening to too much, to be honest. Maybe what was playing in Sabu's Winnebago. I think Sabu was a big Metallica fan and stuff like that. But if Rob comes back, I'll be sure to ask him. Either way, what I will do, I know a wrestling historian just asked this question. I'll screenshot this for Rob in case he doesn't come back, and we will close out the show. Rob Van Dam is on the McDonald's Wi-Fi. Yes, indeed. He's just got internet issues tonight. But man, for the most part, it was pretty good considering. I thought we might not even had a show. We were even talking about delaying the show till tomorrow and stuff like that. But thankfully, it went through, and Frankie was great. I love Frankie. He was such a great guest. Man, such a this show's called One of a Kind because of Rob, but what a one of a kind wrestler and talent Frankie is too, because it's like he's been everywhere. He got trained by Killer Kowalski, and like he's just had just a very, very impressive career for himself. There we go. Rob's back. Hey.
Anyway, motherfucker thought he was in Vietnam and that people were chasing him, and I thought he was gonna attack me. He looked at me like he didn't know who the fuck I was. So do I think somebody that's got these fucking plaque tau proteins sitting on their brain, disrupting who knows what, not just messages, common sense, perception, whatever is being disrupted, and it's wasting away. And anyway, that's what I think about the Rabid Wolverine is that if he didn't have CTE, I don't think there's any way that he was going to be a fucking Tommy Karate Patera.
Right.
You should play Tommy Karate Patera. He looks a lot more like him than the Pete SNL dude.
Oh, Benoit looked more like I could see that for sure. Yeah, because Pete Davidson, when I saw like a picture of Tommy, I was like, that looks nothing like Pete Davidson. Looks nothing like him.
Chris looks a lot like. Look at the cover of the Butcher. The book that
That's the Philip Carlo book.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Tommy Karate does not like Philip Carlo.
Right.
He does not like Philip Carlo.
Yeah.
And if you guys go ahead.
It's that's how we get our history, is from just secondhand, unless we experience it. That's the best firsthand. We get taught in school, this is the way it went down, and then you learn a lot of it. That's not even the way it went down. We didn't really get taught that we were the heels a lot of times, when we were, as white people, so many times, and not really the spin they put on it, but that's just an example. But Philip Carlo wrote the book. Everybody that thinks they know anything about the Iceman, Philip Carlo is definitely full of shit. And he wrote the book on the Butcher, on Philip Carlo, and on Anthony Gaspard Casso. 3 books that, and that's what we consider history and know them by. But in real life, he says the Iceman, either the Iceman or Philip Carlo. Well, Philip Carlo's the one who wrote it. So he says that Iceman killed Jimmy Hoffa, Paul Castellano, John Gotti's neighbors, John Favara, Joey Gallo, fucking Carmine Galante. There's no fucking way. And I've always known, that maybe some of it's true and maybe not, whatever. You kind of like, what are you going to do with that information? But you can't accept it as fact. And even, unfortunately, even what Tommy is saying, you got to take also with a grain of salt, even though he's calling Philip Carlo out, and then he's like, I don't know if you caught this, but he's like, and they're saying that I belong to some banana family, whatever that is.
Was that where he was saying where he was like, where from Italy his family was from?
I don't know. I just remember I listened to 7, different audio tapes. So I just remember him saying the Banana family and then following it up with like whoever they are. And I was like, okay, this is going to be filtered.
Yeah. Dude, you weren't lying either. He sounded exactly like Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci, Chris Benoit with Joe Pesci's voice.
Yes. Very much. We'll close it out with this one here, Rob. A wrestling historian asks, does RVD consider himself the last European champion? Uh-oh. Rob froze. We might never know. We might never know. Did he? So I thought, I guess it was. Was it the European title and the Hardcore Championship that merged? I thought it was the Intercontinental title merged with the Hardcore Championship. Am I wrong on that? Am I wrong? I might be wrong. Let me take a look. I seriously thought it was the Intercontinental Championship and the Hardcore Championship. But maybe you're right. I don't know. Or am I misthinking all of this? Hardcore Championship. Ship European. Let's take a look here. Iconic. Both titles were unified in 2002 and subsequently retired. So, yeah. So, Rob was the last to hold this? Yeah. Wow. I guess he would be. Oh, Rob, we lost you right when we were about to hear your answer.
You can't keep a good man down.
You can't. You really can't. Did you know what question was asked?
Yes, and the answer is yes, I do.
That's right. You were, too.
I consider myself also the last hardcore TV champion.
Yeah.
Is that it? Or was there a, let's see, you said the European, the hardcore. So look, I retired. Maybe it was just the two. I know it was 2 or 3 belts. That's all.
For some reason, I thought when those titles merged, I thought it merged with the Intercontinental title and it just became the Intercontinental Championship. But no, I looked it up and it was the European, and obviously you know, but it was European and Hardcore Championship. So dang it, he froze again. I'm gonna screenshot this. So there it goes. Send that to Rob. We'll close it out with that, I think. Thank you all for tuning in today. One of a Kind with RVD and Frankie Kazarian. What a great show. What a great amount of super chats. I think I have everybody screenshotted that I'll have to tally up for the raffle next week. So we'll put you in the raffle. We'll make it a big, we'll add so many names to it. Should be a fun one then. Yeah, Rob's gone. But all right. I think that'll do it. I'll just text Rob. I'll end the show. That was the end of the chats. I'm going to end the show. That's too funny. See if he comes back real quick. But in the meantime, if you haven't yet, check out the episode with Fonzie. We went live earlier this week. Me and Fonzie went on Wednesday. It was great to be back with Fonzie. We caught up. He tells some great stories, as he always does, and some really fun insight. Talk about Too Cold Scorpio and a lot of different really cool stuff about ECW and him being the referee starting off and working with all those guys and stuff like that. And so really fun. Fonzie's like the Kevin Bacon of pro wrestling, I think. So, all right, that'll do it, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, go to rvdtv.com and hit subscribe. Like, share, get the word out. And we'll see you next time here on One of a Kind with who? Oh, with Rob Van Dam. Yeah. Once his internet gets back. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Booyah.